But the senator, while indoctrinated, could not explain his toxicity.
This is HBR News number 201. Johnny Depp gets support, SPLC founder accused of sexism and racism, and more good news where we will reflect on the stories of the week and give it the Badger treatment. Hello everybody and welcome to Honey Badger Radio. I am your host Brian and I am joined by, as always, my esteemed panelists, Hannah and the two mics. We have a great show lined up for you guys today, so please be sure to continue the conversations both in the chat as well as the comment section. On this week's HBR News Show, we're going to be talking about the events of the week, including news surrounding the Johnny Depp / Amber Heard defamation lawsuit. It surrounds the sort of accusations of assault and domestic violence that Amber Heard levied against Johnny Depp. It has a plot twist that you won't see coming, I swear. Vladek Filler's recent win against false sexual assault allegations, the recent allegations against the founder or a founder of the SPLC, and more, so allegations galore. So please stick around, it's going to be a good time. And also, be sure to join us afterwards for the patron-only after show. The far right is the dominant political community on YouTube, according to Vice magazine. It is a flourishing world of men's rights activists, libertarians, anti-feminist atheists, and white nationalists, all of which are basically equally bad, apparently. There are whole channels dedicated to showing social justice warriors getting owned by various conservative provocateurs, and this has gone largely unanswered by the left. Until now, enter Natalie Wynn, also known on YouTube as ContraPoints, who is trying to de-radicalize this part of YouTube with an unexpected mix of philosophy and elaborate costumes. And she's making some headway. Let's take a look at what Vice.com has to say about her work, considering she's this little underdog that's going up against such a massive monolith of power known as the MRA and all of their affiliates. Anyway, if you want to be a part of the after show, either as an audience member or a participant, please consider becoming a Badger yourself by going to feedthebadger.com and setting up a monthly subscription. And also, if you don't want to wake up one morning to find yourself unable to find our content because YouTube finally dropped the axe on our channels, which, by the way, is starting to look more and more real every day, please go to badgerfeed.com. That's badgerfeed.com. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get into the stories, but first, we're going to do a little bit of the news in brief because shit is funny and the world's crazy and I want to share it. So, turn this plane around. We're going to talk about this. Saudi Airlines flight to Malaysia made an abrupt turnaround after a passenger realized she forgot her baby at the terminal. That's right. That really happened. A recording of the pilot radioing back to the airport went viral on social media. Here is a part of the interaction, which I'm going to quote, as translated by Gulf News. Pilot says, quote, "A passenger left her baby in the terminal and refuses to continue the flight. Operator says, okay, head back to the gate. This is a totally new one for us. The flight was able to return to the terminal in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, and the mother was reunited with her baby in the departure lounge." Well, it's a good thing that they found the baby, but what the fuck was she thinking?
How the hell is your baby not your most important consideration when you are getting on an airplane or any time when you're taking care of your baby? Anytime your baby is with you. Like, how does it become a secondary consideration to something else? That blows my mind.
I don't know. It's crazy, isn't it? It's
holy shit. What does
maybe
she have?
She
like
wants
a
to
whole...
be in the news. Maybe that's what it is. She wants to be the next Home Alone movie. Sorry, Warner Bros. Already own the rights to this story. You can't have it.
Jesus.
I just want to know what was so important that she completely forgot about her baby. What was the thing that just kind of snapped her out of the I have a baby I have to take care of?
She was updating her Instagram with the quinoa meal that she had in the terminal, and
there you go.
yeah.
Or she picked up the diaper bag that she didn't want to forget because she would need things for the baby on the plane and then didn't think about the baby being there next to her.
Yeah.
She might be that absent-minded.
Well, they
my
do say you're supposed to apply your own mask before you assist a minor. Maybe she took it to the nth degree. You know? As soon as she
Put
went in the
yourself on
airport,
the plane
Let's
before
get me
you-
on the plane first. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
Oh.
So let's take a shift. We're gonna go from stories of not paying any attention to your kids. We're gonna shift to some moms who are placing a disturbing amount of attention on their kids. Headline: Moms make porn they'd be happy for their kids to watch. Now, this is real, a real thing. 5 women disgusted by the porn industry because it's so sexist and problematic, they've decided they're gonna make porn to replace, quote, horrible shit we see on the internet. After researching hardcore films that could be accessed by anyone online for free, a mom of 6, Sarah Louise, was so traumatized that she threw up. At least that's what she claims. And 40-year-old Sarah cried seeing graphic rape-based content. Sarah added, quote, "If my son treated a woman like that, I would kick his arse to kingdom come." So they're going to okay, let's be clear before you guys comment. They're not going to be in the porn. They're going to be writing, directing, and shooting porn that their kids, that they think should be approved for their children. I don't know. I don't know what's worse, honestly. Leaving your baby at the airport or trying to make porn for your kids. And
this is what happens when
I'm going for the
somebody
hat
sends
trick
your
after
mom-
this too, by the way, but go on.
This is what happens when somebody sends your mom a copy of Two Girls, One Cup, and she takes it seriously.
It's like you've discovered your child drinking scotch or something, or drinking vodka, and you're like, well, this is the wrong kind of drink altogether. Here, have some Lambrini.
Jesus.
This is what you're supposed to drink.
Somebody said, I gotta quote this. Somebody in the chat, Robert Michael says, "Kingdom Come, is that the name of the porn company?"
Oh God.
They should change the name to that.
You know what's funny about this is like, all right, so what made her throw up? Obviously, based on the little bit here, it's the way women were being treated in the porn, which, you know, there's all kinds of different porn out there. You're gonna find stuff that is not your bag of chips. But if she's upset about the perceived exploitation of women, her reaction to it was to create a company to engage in what other women might call the exploitation of women. Like all the people who think that if a woman makes money in ways they don't like, she's being exploited, right? Would just totally object to this. And I think that's going to come back and bite her in the ass later on. I will bet you that in the future, somewhere along the line, these women are going to get backlash from anti-porn feminists because they're exploiting women to cover up for worse exploitation of women. And of course, it's not going to replace that porn. It's just going to add to the body of porn that's available on the internet. And there'll probably be somebody out there that'll like it, and which is fine. This whole thing is just hilarious to me.
Yeah. Although
my theory with
go ahead.
The vomiting is that she stumbled upon some deep throat porn with an exceptionally well hung gentleman, and she's like, well, maybe that doesn't look so hard. I think I could probably try that, and then boom, just right all over the place, second hit her tonsils.
Well, if it doesn't look hard, how does she know if he's well endowed?
Some people are growers and some people are not. So sometimes
There you
can
go.
just tell when it's
Also,
just out there.
They missed the funniest thing about this whole situation. It's at the end of the article. It's a little bit disguised. It's sandwiched. It's like one sentence sandwiched between 2 images. They say the film the mums made will be shown in the last of the 3-part series starting on April 20th.
March 20th.
As they hold a viewing March 20th.
Yeah.
My apologies. As they hold a viewing party for friends and family, including some of their children.
Oh.
Oh, that's
So
like the
now
last thing you want.
I think we can definitively say between airport baby and porn mom children who has it worse.
Well, to be fair, it's probably the reaction the children are probably gonna have is I'm never watching porn again or anything like it. So job done, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, do you even like what kid wants to watch porn that their parents made for them to watch?
What kid wants to watch porn with their parents in the room?
Yeah, well, no, that's even
Oh
worse.
my
I get
God.
it, but I mean, like, even if they said, you know, we made this, you can watch it on your own whenever. I wouldn't want anything to do. Where is Dad? I just want to know, where is Dad? Somebody needs to rein in these women. Like, where is Dad? Jesus Christ, this is ridiculous. So yeah, I don't know what's I guess that, well, they turned the plane around. But I want to turn the world around after this. After this,
Well,
after
this
this
is-
story.
This is
I have to
more along
wonder-
the lines.
Is this the kind of porn that we're going to need a license for? We're going to have to actually
Well,
go
this
down
is in the
porn store.
UK, so this is in the UK, I believe. So if they're making it, then it must be UK approved porn that they're making, which means that you probably will need a license, but it won't be illegal because they won't be putting any of the bad stuff in it, like water sports. So there is that.
You know, this is just a group of women that thought if we could make some porn that we could market to people, we could make some money, and then they came up with a marketing ploy, and this was it.
Channel
I think
4's
they
exec
would
Sarah
probably-
Lazenby said, "We're proud to put parents in the director's chair." Thumbs up. Okay, go ahead, Mike. I'm sorry.
I think if they eventually go down this road, they'll realize that the kind of porn that they want their children to see is just like maybe 5 really hot guys dancing around and women screaming at them. Oh wait, we've been doing that since the fucking 80s, right?
Yeah. So,
In fact, TV has become like some hideous female-centric porn ever since fucking 80s.
is it even legal to like? Should it be legal to show your kids porn?
No.
I mean, I don't know how young they
it's-
are,
You know,
but
you know what's really bad though is essentially your school does that.
uh-huh.
Yeah, if in health classes when your kids are taking sex education, they are definitely seeing things that you would not expect them to be seeing at school.
It's just crazy. Yeah,
I don't know if
You shouldn't be
that's
showing
something we
kids
should
stuff
legislate.
You shouldn't be showing kids that's just there to be arousing because they can't get aroused by it, so they're only going to get traumatized by it. You know.
mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't think
There's,
you have to.
there's a pretty clear distinction between pornographic and educational.
There should be.
Not to a 13-year-old.
Yeah, I don't know how old the kids are, but the whole thing is just creepy and weird. Just creepy as fuck. And again, I don't see any dads anywhere in this story. So I don't know if
there's a reason for that.
yeah,
Yep.
it's a I again with the airplane story, I'm not hearing about a dad that was like, "Hey, where's the baby?" So I don't know. All right, so let's look at the super chats and I'll go to the last of these 3 short stories. Exploding Pretty at Work gives us $5 and says, "Don't forget to buy your wanking license so you can watch Mum's Prawn." Mr. Roboto gives us $5 and says, "'Tis is why SJWs, feminists, some libs are deemed permissive with no morals. There's a center point between fucking and making love. Good sense they have not." It's a bit of Yoda wisdom. And Mr. Roboto again gives us $2 and says, "Why can children not just allowed to be children?" Oh, well.
Because they're my children. Ah.
Yeah. And we're going to get into another story that's even weirder than the other ones. Yes, I'm going to top this, I think. So here we go. Now, we're going to move on to mothers who basically can't leave their young child's gender alone. Fourth Wave, which is a Twitter account that describes themselves as parent skeptics who question medicalizing gender atypical youth and who support, quote, free speech, science, and rational feminism. Like, that's a thing somewhere? Rational feminism? I don't know.
Yeah, they're trying.
Yeah.
God bless them, they're trying.
An attempt was made. So anyway, they've released screenshots of an online parent support group. So just so you guys know, Fourth Wave, they're the ones exposing this story. They're not the ones we're actually going to be talking about. They've released screenshots of an online parent support group with advice on how to conceal male children's genitalia so that you can raise them as sort of, in a gender neutral way.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know how well that works.
Yes. So here's some screenshots. So a message revealing that a parent's 6-year-old showed no signs of dysphoria. My 6-year-old has no dysphoria either. This is from the sort of like a thread that they've exposed. She's never said a word about her penis. So this is a boy that they're just giving the pronoun she to. And this boy is 6 years old. She wears Leo lines under her leotard because I hand them to her when she's getting dressed for gymnastics. It was my choice. She couldn't care less. Recommendations for young male to female children: tucking underwear. Yes, that's also a thing. So I'm going to move on to this. Yep. The 2 most popular lines of underwear recommended on these forums by parents who want to hide their young children's male genitalia seem to be Tuck Buddies and Leo lines, which thrive on Etsy. It's a real product. It's on the Etsy store, which you can buy for your sons to make them into your daughters, if you wish, as well as this. So let me click on the next thing. While helping a 9-year-old tape and tuck, mom notices a few pubic hairs on her testicles and worries it's time for puberty blockers. Others chime in with similar urgency. So I'll quote the conversation. My 7-year-old has had wiry blonde hairs on hers since she was 5, to be honest. Her hormone levels still look prepubescent though. Someone responds, my cis 9-year-old got huge clumps of armpit hair nowhere else until peach fuzz at 12. I had him tested to make sure he was all right and everything came out normal. Kids are so unpredictable. Yikes. I've got to get my kid.
Where the fuck am I? Where am I?
You're in an upside down world.
Where? Sorry, I just had an out-of-body experience. Where? Sorry, carry on.
Oh, no, it's okay. Yikes. I've got to get my kid to the endo. I keep thinking 9 is too young, but you are scaring me. Response to that, I'm hoping she is a late developer like I was. Fingers crossed. 9 is when the gender clinic at blank sent us to do all the blood work and scans. Yes, this is a real thing. So, yeah, go ahead. I'm going to let you guys comment now.
To do irreparable damage to their children who aren't even... Who this isn't even on their fucking radar. You wanted to know what I wanted to be at 6? I wanted to be a dinosaur. I mean...
yeah, I wanted to be a shark.
I
wanted to be a shark and a cop. I wanted to be a cop shark.
Cop shark. That's cool. Street sharks, man.
I wanted to be a venture capitalist.
Oh, no!
This is what happens when Munchausen's by proxy meets gender politics. Like, you have parents literally trying to impose a mental illness on their children so they'll be more politically, not just politically correct, but politically admirable. They can't virtue signal properly if their children aren't broken, so they have to break them so they can fix them, so they can virtue signal as parents of transgender children. I mean, that is some fucked in the head shit. And all I can think of is the sleepaway camp movies with the kid that, was forced to be a girl and then goes to camp and kills a bunch of people. And there's going to be, it's more likely there's going to be a wave of suicides come out of that part of the victim identity cult spectrum. That their kids are going to grow up and their parents are going to have fucked them up so badly that they kill themselves when they get older and they realize there's nothing they can do about it. This is just like appalling.
Yeah.
And it's Ugh.
So this is
Robert Michael. If you haven't seen the Sleepaway Camp movies by now,
yeah, they're from the
you don't
70s.
get spoiler alerts for movies out of the 70s and 80s. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Hannah, I can't believe anyone other than me has watched those movies. You're the first person I've heard.
Oh my
I
God.
saw them.
Okay,
I saw
so
it.
my brother and me and our friends used to walk downtown to a video store where they had your regular rentals, and they had a shitload of B grade horror movies and worse. And we would get and they didn't seem to care that they were giving like PG and R rated movies to kids. So, teenage and younger, we rented like everything we could get our hands on. We would have movie nights on the weekends, and we would go through a series of zombie movies, or we would go through a series of serial killer movies, or we would go through a series of psycho killer movies, or whatever. We saw everything. All like it's some of the stuff we saw so much stuff I've forgotten half of it. But yeah, we rented all the Tromaville stuff. They had the Tromaville stuff. We rented everything because we could, and it was fun.
Mhm.
Big bowl of popcorn and movies. But the Sleepaway Camp movies, this every time I see something like this, that's what I think of. Every time I see something like the parents imposing this shit on their kids, that set of movies just comes right to mind, man. It's jeez.
Yeah, so okay. So this is the Etsy. I put the Etsy website up. This is a real thing. This is the page for Tuck Buddies. Transgender male to female tuck buddies, short style underwear with bamboo lining, and they have all these like colorful patterns, and therefore tuck. They even have, I'm sorry, but they even have it on a child. Like this is treated as though My Little Pony. This is being treated as though it is just a thing that you do with your son when he is a child, very young, so that he can. And look, people are commenting, "My daughter loves them." That's a boy. You put it on a boy. This is crazy. These have been a lifesaver for my sweet 11-year-old. This is real. This is not a fake thing. This is not a joke. Okay? There are this fad of essentially like taking a woman, taking her young boys, and then essentially raising them, not just raising them gender neutral, but raising them as girls and calling them she and giving them female pronouns. This is a thing that's happening. And again, I have to ask, and this goes back to the first two stories, where is dad? I'm not saying that, because he could be very well just be this complicit dude that's going along with it, but I want to know what's going on. Like this should be something. Look, imagine this. Imagine a man did this to his son or daughter, for that matter. How would we react? Would there be an Etsy store for this sort of like female to male clothing that hides a girl's girlness and makes her a boy? And there are men that are like, so involved with their child's genitals and what they're presenting as. Would we tolerate that?
Oh, and by the way, while this shit's on the market, woe betide anyone who releases a T-shirt with a slogan that has the word monkey in it, because that would be racist.
Yeah.
But this is like clothing that's designed to hide your fucking race or something. Can you imagine? It's a top that tucks your blackness behind your teeth so no one can see it. Like, that's perfectly all right.
Here's another comment.
What?
Amanda Rogers, she gives it the lowest score, 2 stars. She says, "Unfortunately, my trans daughter finds these too bulky to wear and will only wear them at bedtime. The material around the legs is very thick. Definitely not meant for leggings or jeggings, which is what all the girls are wearing these days. Wanted to love them, but sadly, my kid is not a fan." That's a boy.
How old is this kid?
Well, look, I mean, how old do you think this is for? Like,
This is
let's look at the
crazy.
size. It goes up to size 14. I don't even know what that is. Is that in girls? I don't know. I don't know. I'm sorry, but go ahead.
So just for the record, that's sexualizing the child twice, because first of all, there's the whole tucking, the imposed tucking thing, which is bullshit to begin with. But leggings and jeggings are intended to show off the ass.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Your pre-teen child should not be running around in those. I don't care, boy or girl. Put your kid in clothes that are designed to be moved around in and played in, because that's what kids really should be focusing on. It's going outside and playing and being kids.
Yeah.
Jeez.
And
Not that that's anywhere near as objectionable as the rest of this. And actually, now that I think about it, looking at the being a jerk or a group for this, and these guys are like commiserating with each other about the problems, and that the clothing issues and everything tells me it's not just when Munchausen's meets political or politics. It's when Munchausen's meets politics meets child beauty pageants. These are the pageant moms of transgenderism, of transtrenderism, really, to impose this on their kids. And I really, really got reamed on Reddit about 10 years ago for sounding the alarm on this, when I started to see feminists saying things like this. And of course, the trans community assumed I was talking about people who experience gender dysphoria, that gender dysphoria is not a real thing. No, it's definitely real. I've seen it in action. It fucks with your head, and any kind of treatment that helps you deal with the situation you're in is better than ignoring it. But to turn around and say, like, this handicap that is emotionally painful, that leads people to suicide, that causes social handicap for the individual experiencing it, that is confusing, that is not just emotionally upsetting, but can also lead to physical changes if you go for that route of treatment, and that's going to be extraordinarily painful, and it also has an impact on your health and your physical health, and it comes with its own social handicaps. That you impose this on a child that doesn't have gender dysphoria? Like, what kind of monstrous person would do that? And of course, the answer is pageant moms, who are so self-absorbed that they've developed Munchausen's, and they see a way to exploit the political situation of today, so they shove their kids at it.
Yeah.
How much more abusive can you get?
Oh, this is insanely abusive. This is crazy.
Oh, I'm sure they're going to find a way.
Yeah, so I guess this story wins, right? From
That
woman
story
leaves her
wins.
baby on the plane to mothers
sign-
try to make porn for
sign
their
me up.
kids.
Sign me up for the mommy porn. I'll take that.
Yeah.
Holy crap. Okay, let's look at the super chats. And let us know what you guys think of these three stories. This is like, I think this is all the sign that we have. What is the meme? We have all strayed too far from God. This is like the dark times. We're heading into the darkest timeline right now. I
have to wonder if this is one of nature's. If this is one of nature's ways of preventing overpopulation, because it must have something in there to have prevented this from happening before.
Well, if it was, it wouldn't have
just
happened.
go fucking nuts and kill ourselves in a horrible, weird, contrived way.
Yeah, this is like a slow death.
If it was, it wouldn't happen now. It would have happened when, like, we're in a declining birth rate now. It would have happened 10 years ago.
Maybe it was a little slow.
Yeah, it started happening 10 years ago. So maybe.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, we've been watching. It's the slow death. It's been going over.
The machine has been activated, and now that the problem is no longer present, the machine cannot be turned off.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. Parts of the machine are pretty damn turned off right now.
Okay.
Destroy the working parts, you get a broken machine.
Yeah, there you go.
Not many
And that
people
was
know
a,
I don't know the lyrics to the next part.
that was
but
the
I'm sure.
link. That was the last thing I was going to mention is that, you notice this is important in this particular story. We're not talking about girls. There's no clothes here for girls that they believe are boys. They simply let those, they dress those girls up in boys' clothes. And maybe, I'm sure that it happens where they might take their girls and put them on hormones, which I also think is fucked up because, you shouldn't be doing that unless they get older and they realize for whatever reason that they do want to transition. They don't feel comfortable in their body. But you doing it when they're like 6, 7, 8, 9 years old, disgusting. But what I'm seeing here is in all of the sort of screenshots, it's all sons that they're doing this to. They're doing it to their sons. They're calling them daughters. They're buying this special underwear for them. It's the men that appear to be the most affected in this particular instance, and I don't have a problem saying it. And on top of that, I hate to say this, but in a way, the TERF's got a point. Because I think that's what this fourth wave group is. But even still, I think that in a way, the TERFs have a point. And I think it might be one thing that we might agree with them on is that this early, prepubescent transition that's encouraged, and this is definitely encouraged by feminists in feminist circles to do this stuff, and it's only affecting boys, and it's irreversible, and for whatever reason, these parents think that this is like the way forward. It's affecting boys. I mean, this is a big problem. This shouldn't be happening. Where are the police, indeed, is what I want to know.
This is it's like the ADHD craze where everybody got their kids diagnosed with ADD because they thought it was going to make them do better in school. And they drugged their kids. And it was fashionable to have to struggle through your child's ADD. And only it's with gender politics. And so you get your kid diagnosed or you self-diagnose your child with gender dysphoria and impose it on him. And now it's fashionable to have a child with gender dysphoria that you're struggling through their dysphoria. Aren't you such a good mom for being so politically correct that you're not stifling your child's development when in fact you actually are?
There you go. All right, super chats. Tyler Preston gives us $2 and says, "Where are the police?" Really? I don't know. Is that? I mean, I don't. This.
They're arresting people for dead naming
Yes,
people
that's right.
in tweets, I believe.
Yes, that's right. They're doing that. Mr. Roboto gives us $2 and says, "Where is child services at when you need them?" Well, I think child services has a tendency to side with mothers, so they're probably like supporting them. Albert
They're
Nada.
busy going after parents who are still married because the father has PTSD from being in a combat zone.
Yeah.
And even though nothing's happened and he hasn't actually done anything, his diagnosis alone is just bad enough that they feel entitled to go in and actually take him out of the house. Since that happened in the UK.
Mm-hmm. Albert Nada gives us $2 Canadian and says Charlize Theron is emasculating her adopted son. I've heard a lot of like actresses in Hollywood that have sons are raising them as daughters or gender neutral. I believe Angelina Jolie was doing that with her son. They're because her and Brad Pitt, they adopted a bunch of kids, and of course they let those kids be kids because I guess they're not their kids. But when they had a kid, they started raising their son gender neutral. So this is not an uncommon practice. What are you going to do?
It wasn't enough virtue to just adopt a bunch of kids from
they also
third world
had
nations.
To make their own baby, but then show us that they're still virtuous by raising that baby in such a way that they're probably not going to pass their genes on unless somebody intervenes. Okay, Ayla Silverthorn gives us £5 and says, "I read the whole thread on Twitter. They go on to talk about reassuring their kids about having surgery when they're older. It's horrific." Yeah, go ahead and push your kids into that shit. What are you doing? And then Meredith Glassberg just gave us $5. Thank you guys so much for all these very, very generous super chats. And Meredith Glassberg says, "It feels like a bunch of women who hate having sons, so they are going to turn them into daughters. It's just abuse." Well, I mean, when you buy into the idea, and you're constantly being told that men are cancer and men are terrible for society, and that, you know, there's something wrong with them right from the outset, why would you want to have a son? I mean, do you want to be a part of the problem, or do you want to be a part of the solution? So there is that. And people are debating about
the words Archibuzzy keep coming to mind.
Mm-hmm.
I know they're sort of, well, they're sort of making them up, like to look all sexy and stuff, and that's something we've been doing with little girls for some time now, to a little bit of rejection, but now we're doing it to little boys as well. We want to make them sex objects because girls are as well. Yeah, probably shouldn't have made girls sex objects in the first place.
Jesus. Okay. So let us know what you guys think about these stories. Also, let us know what you guys think about this Etsy page. Like, why is it here? What the fuck? Apparently, I looked in the comments. There are some 18-year-old male to female transgendered people that buy these as well. They don't look like something for adults, but okay. Weird flex, but okay. We're going to move on to the next story because I can't handle the cringe any longer. So, all right, where was I? Now we're going to look at something a little bit more substantial and positive. So we're going to try and end on a plus side note here. Man falsely accused of sexual assault awarded $1.8 million in damages. A Maine man, I don't mean like my Maine man, I mean he's from Maine, the state. A Maine man was awarded $1.8 million in damages years after he was falsely accused of sexual assault. Vladek Filler was accused 12 years ago of repeatedly sexually assaulting his wife. His wife, Liga, accused him during their divorce and over a bitter child custody battle. I didn't see that coming. After he said that he would take the children and move to Georgia, she accused him of sexual assault. Vladek said that he, quote, ran into the street from the family home holding one of the boys, yelling that she wanted to kill her husband for molesting and abusing their children, and that she feared he would kill their 12-year-old son. In 2015, he filed a federal lawsuit against more than a dozen people after being found guilty. He settled with all of the other defendants except for one for $375,000. The only individual that remained was Linda Gleason, a nurse and friend of his wife. Judge John Woodcock, yes, that's his name, awarded Vladek $1.77 million after he found that Gleason was, quote, extremely culpable in Vladek's wrongful conviction. She had testified against him and told his wife how to make her false accusation seem more believable. Woodcock wrote that, quote, she has not come clean even to this day. Miss Gleason did not merely set a ball in motion and watch it roll. She continued to push it, testifying falsely as a witness, adding to her credibility by calling on her professionalism as a nurse. She must have known that he had been wrongfully convicted on 2 occasions, and yet she never told the truth, end quote. Woodcock also added that, quote, Mr. Filler endured a living nightmare, falsely accused by his then wife and her friend of committing heinous crimes. He was wrongfully charged, tried, and convicted of those charges, and it took him 8 years to be fully exonerated. Mr. Filler's experience is no one's idea of justice in this state or country. About the ordeal, Vladek Filler said that, quote, the real nightmare my family and I were put through has been devastating. From day one and throughout both criminal trials, the truth was available to the officials involved, but they ignored and suppressed it and deliberately kept it from the eyes and ears of the jury.
This was a horrendous case. I remember when it was ongoing, and it was like every place you could turn in the system, the suppression was occurring. The prosecutor, Mary Kellett, actively coached the accuser in the same way that is described here regarding the nurse, and actively suppressed exculpatory evidence. And like this is, and the police did the same thing. The prosecutor put a lot of pressure on the detectives to basically give her what she needed for a conviction rather than get to the bottom of the case. And she was officially reprimanded, but it was basically a slap on the wrist. She's like back to business as usual. This has been it's great to see him actually win a lawsuit of this size, especially over the, because like this man was put through a meat grinder and spit out the other end, and it's just what was done to him was just horrifying. Like everybody that's familiar with the 7 years in hell story, this is worse by a long shot. They actually he was convicted and then exonerated because of the prosecutorial misconduct that took place in his case.
Yeah, this is good news. I remember we covered this before because I remember the name Vladek Filler. We actually had talked about this case on the show, I believe, like a year ago or so.
And
Yeah.
like if you come to ICMI, he's usually at the ICMI events.
Oh, cool. Well, maybe we'll see him this year. It'd be great for him to like talk about this amazing victory. So there you go. Some justice for men. Some justice for men. And by the way, this story came to us from the lovely Ash Scow, who gets me a lot of stories, as well as the next one. So does anyone else have any thoughts on this Vladek Filler story that they want to share? No? Just good
The only
news.
other thing I want to say is if you want to know the history of this, A Voice for Men was heavily involved in his case. Look up his name and Mary Kellett on the A Voice for Men website, and you can read step by step what happened to him.
All right. Okay, so let's move on to the next story. And this one, Mike J is going to take it from here. We're going to be talking about the SPLC, everybody's favorite anti-hate organization.
Anti-hate and giant fucking air quotes.
Yeah.
So, less than a week ago on Wednesday, the chief litigator and co-founder of the Southern Poverty Law Center, Morris Dees, was fired from the organization. According to the SPLC, Dees was let go for a personal reason, and he no longer, quote, reflected the mission of the organization and the values they hope to instill in the world, end quote. As mysterious as Dees' departure was, some clues have surfaced that might shed light on the real reason. The Times reports that a letter signed by over 24 SPLC employees was sent out to the management and the board of directors right before Dees' firing. The letter outlined concerns that alleged instances of sexual harassment, discrimination on the terms of gender, mistreatment, and racism within the company could threaten the SPLC's moral authority. Additionally, a week before Dees' firing, a black female attorney from the SPLC resigned. In her resignation letter, she states, quote, as a woman of color, the experiences of staff of color and female staff have been particularly important to me, and we recognize that there is more work to do in the legal department and across the organization to ensure that SPLC is a place where everyone is heard and respected, and where the values we are committed to pursuing externally are also being practiced internally, end quote. The day after Dees was let go, SPLC President Richard Cohen released a statement to the media in which he, quote, announced a number of immediate, concrete next steps we're taking, including bringing in an outside organization to conduct a comprehensive assessment of our internal climate and workplace practices to ensure that our talented staff is working in the environment that they deserve, one in which all voices are heard and all staff members are respected, end quote. Dees parting with the company was extremely amicable. In an interview with the Montgomery Advertiser, Dees states, quote, it was not my decision what they did. I wish the center the absolute best. Whatever reasons they had of theirs, I don't know.
Okay, so alleged instances of sexual harassment, discrimination on the terms of gender, mistreatment, and racism, and this is by the standards of the SPLC. So, for all we know, all he did was advocate for legal paternal surrender or something, right?
Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe he made the okay gesture. Maybe he accidentally shared a rare Pepe. But I think there might be something more to it, just because he's not willing to say what got him fired. He's claiming he doesn't know. Bullshit. I don't think you step down from a company, from a position this big, without knowing what you did.
Yeah, wouldn't you want to know so you can at least see if you're actually guilty? Because if you're not, then you can fight them on it. Or so you must. Well, it's likely that you know what you did. I'm pressing X to doubt that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is the SPLC, and they have big money bags, and if he were to fight this, whoever were to fight this would be crushed like a bug under the SPLC's shoe, and because he is a part of that political outlook, he is not going to have the weapons he needs to fight back. He will make himself into exactly what they would accuse him of in the process of fighting back, and he would have no allies anywhere that he would be comfortable with accepting as his allies. So he really probably had no choice but to step down. I just, in a way, I think it's kind of funny that Me Too has hit the SPLC. And I kind of want to start calling them the Subtle Prejudice and Lies Center, because it just, like, obviously we don't know if he actually did anything.
That's good, Hannah. Can we get that on a t-shirt?
Yes, the Subtle Prejudice and Lies Center is now the name of the SPLC, because clearly that everything they've been doing has been a dog whistle for their own prejudices, if he is guilty of anything. And if he's not guilty, well, he can't do anything about it because he's an old white man, and their prejudice against old white men is not so subtle.
You know what? I got a question. So he is a founder, or the founder?
Co-founder.
Co-founder.
Yeah, he's
okay,
a
co-founder.
founder.
So that's not really, founder by itself, I assume, isn't necessarily a position in the company or the organization, but I would assume that he's really high ranking in the organization, or was high ranking in the organization. So if he is no longer in that position, then who's next in line? And of course, we don't have to have the answer to that, but my question is, see, I'm wondering, and I know that this is all speculative and we don't have any evidence, but one of the ways in which you could grab a higher position within an organization is to get the person above you fired or get them to step down. And I wonder if that's not what's happening within the SPLC itself, because
could be.
I mean, it's possible. And here's the thing. The SPLC isn't really an authority on hate. I know that's crazy. I know I'm like going way off. I'm way out here outside the Overton window, but stay with me. Everything they do is based on opinion. So they essentially write opinion pieces on various groups, and sometimes they're right. Like, there's some groups that are kind of obvious, right? But a lot of the time it's all just based on their opinion, and the SPLC is very, very progressive. So it's based on progressive opinions on what and progressive definitions on what constitutes racism, sexism, oppression, and so on. So that means, and the thing is that with progressives, this tool set of how you can frame arguments of oppression to demonize people and destroy people, it's actually very useful for grabbing at power. So, and it's often used that way too. Like, as an example, I did a video a while ago with Aiden, and I talked about how there were people that were using accusations of sexual harassment, sexual misconduct, and sexism towards women to get men in the animation industry fired or removed, and then suddenly women were taking their place. And they were backed by unions, and they were backed by nonprofits that had the intention of putting them in positions of power. So I have to wonder, I mean, I don't think it's that crazy an idea, because I can't think of there's only two reasons why I guess this would have happened to this guy. One is he did do something that was, strongly racist, sexist, or whatever, right? And that the SPLC was their zero tolerance group, and they were like, I don't care if you founded it, you said the N-word, or you slapped this girl on the butt, and now you have to leave. And he's like, okay, I'll leave, but I won't admit that I did that. That's entirely possible. On the other hand, just being a human being, walking through life and sort of interacting with people, if you follow the way that progressives measure sexism, bigotry, racism, and so on, everyone would be guilty at some point. And it's just a matter of when. And then it's like, how do you use that? Because a lot of times people just keep it in their back pocket. You know, do you use it to simply remove a stand-up comedian so that he doesn't get to host the Oscars because he made a joke 10 years ago? At the like a off-color gay joke or whatever it was? Do you use it to remove a female comedian from a television show that she just got, you know, to return to, that was beloved by Americans across the country because she made a joke that you think is racist, even though she didn't actually like explicitly say anything racist herself? Or, you know, like, in what way can you use these tools? And I think that the tools of accusations of bigotry, racism, sexism, and so on, they have a function, and a lot of times it is to shift the positions of people who want power up and shift people who are in power down, and so they can take their place. And so that's why I'm saying, is it really a stretch to think that it's possible, again, I don't know, that this guy was removed because it moves everyone up a little bit, which essentially gets someone else a raise or whatever, or because maybe they just didn't like him and they're just like, well, let's destroy him. You know what I'm saying?
I also have to wonder, sometimes people voluntarily resign. I'm not saying there's any evidence for this being the case, but occasionally people do voluntarily resign, but they're still part of this ideological collective. And so people sort of tactically think, well, if he's resigning anyway, we might as well accuse him of some of this Me Too stuff, and then we can give the impression that we do clean house, so to speak. We do judge our own just as we judge other people. See, we got rid of this guy because he was a wronger, even though in reality he was going to go anyway. It's a little conspiratorial minded, I know, but
yeah,
you never know. Yeah, you never know just how much fuckery these people are capable of.
Yeah, and also there is, you know, like there is another thing, which is the common, I guess, way that we usually see it, which is SJWs always end up eating each other, or as Prince of Queens calls it, starving piranha syndrome, where basically you just like, you're in a school of fish that are desperate to destroy other people that don't act like them, but inevitably the purity testing starts spiraling within the group itself, and people just act out of line and they get eaten. And so this could be that as well, which is kind of a simple explanation, and maybe it's like the most likely one. But I also think that there is a bit of there's utility in this stuff, is what I'm saying, especially within a group like the SPLC, because their whole thing is finding out who the heretics are and trying to expose them. So why wouldn't they also expose heretics within their own organization? All right. So anyway, that's the thing with the SPLC. It's a little, it's as Emperor Palpatine would say, ironic, but not really surprising to me anyway. So no new super chats. Does anybody else have any comments on this story, or should we move on to the final story?
I think we just
got one. Albert Nada gives us $5 Canadian and says, Patriarchy Pictures presents a gratuitous nudity productions, an Albert Nada film, Around the World in 80 Days, offending feminists in 2020. All right.
That was Around the World in 80 Lays.
80 Lays. I missed that.
Yeah.
I was
I'd
sorry.
buy that for $1.
I ruined your long-winded pun, Albert. So I apologize for that. All right, so if there's nothing else, we'll move on to the next story. So, Mike J, if you could, we're going to talk about Johnny Depp.
So, Johnny Depp is back in the good graces of fans after his announcement that he plans to sue his ex-wife Amber Heard in a defamation lawsuit for $50 million. Heard alleged that Depp was physically abusive towards him during their 2-year marriage, while Depp alleges that not only is that not true, but it was Heard that was physically abusive towards him. Along with documents related to the lawsuit, an image of Depp with a bruised face and a photo of a severed finger have surfaced. In 2016, Heard claims that Depp cut his own finger off in a fit of rage. But court documents obtained by the Blast tell another story. Those documents allege that a month after the couple was married, Heard, quote, shattered the bone in the tip of Mr. Depp's right middle finger, almost completely cutting it off. Oh my goodness.
Hey, there's an image. I saw it. I saw a picture of the hand. Now, of course, we don't know for sure that it's Depp's hand because we just see the hand in this photo that's been going around. It's gnarly. I was thinking about sharing it, but I don't know. That might get us a demonetization. It is gnarly as fuck, though. So go on, Mike. I'm sorry.
Yeah, definitely look up at your own
Peril.
Although the court case is still ongoing, fans of Depp have taken to social media to voice support and even apologize for not believing him. A source close to Depp said in a statement, quote, he is finally feeling vindicated after years of looking like the bad guy and not believing his side of the story. Johnny never wanted to put Amber in a position to look like the aggressor, but he finally had enough and needed to reveal his truth. The fact that fans are now beginning to believe his account of what happened feels incredible, and he's more determined than ever to continue fighting for justice and redeem his reputation. End quote.
It's one of the reasons why it's so easy for women to get away with abusing their partners. The guy never does want to put his wife or girlfriend in the position of looking like the aggressor, even though she is. They're not like women will sit around in groups together and bitch about the people that they supposedly love the most, right? Guys will protect even an abusive wife or girlfriend until it gets past the point of no return. And even then, they're not vindictive. They just want out. They're not looking to destroy her. They just want an escape. And so where we hear a lot about it when men are abusive, when we hear a lot about what the guy did and how terrible he was and the kind of person it would take to do that kind of thing, and the alleged victim asks essentially everybody to hate him one way or another. You don't have that when a woman is abusive. So they don't face the backlash that an abusive man faces, or even a man who's accused of abuse, even a man who's in a relationship where the aggression, instead of dealing with conflict rationally, where that goes both ways, is going to get demonized by the woman in the relationship. But not a guy, not a woman who is a unilateral abuser or the instigator in those two-way relationships, those two-way abusive relationships. And it sounds like their relationship, the relationship really sounds like one where she would push and push and push and aggress until he defended himself or reacted. And then she would turn around and use it to claim that he was abusive. It sounds like she's quite the psycho bitch there. And yeah, women get away with that all the time because men are not as mean and vindictive as women are.
Makes you wonder if Mel Gibson's really that much of an ass, because we've heard him on the phone, but we haven't heard what the conversation was like right before that moment. See, these kind of harpies have this habit of only starting the recording device after they've done their part of the bitching, you know?
Exactly.
So after this came out, I can't find it now, but it was in my social media feed. I would say I was surprised, but there were a lot of women on Twitter defending Johnny Depp when they learned about this. Here's a tweet that's from the news thing that says, "So we canceled Johnny Depp for being an abuser when all along he was the one being abused. I'm sick." So there were definitely cases where, like, there are women who are very angry and in defense of Johnny Depp on Twitter and on other places in social media. They are really, really angry with Amber Heard for what she has done. And I find it, I was just talking to my wife about this before we did the show, and I was like, Johnny Depp's been exonerated, and there are people, a lot of women that have come forward, and they're very, very supportive of Johnny Depp. Why do you suppose that might be? Because, you know, it's just like there's been lots of other cases of people that have been men that are pretty high profile that have been found to be accused of stuff, and maybe they were exonerated or whatever. Like, for example, let's say that in a year, we find that Harvey Weinstein is innocent of everything. Do you think there'll be women supporting Harvey Weinstein on Twitter and essentially demonizing all the women that have falsely accused him? No.
Well, maybe if he loses like 100 pounds and starts, hitting the gym a little more often and gets some hair plugs.
Yeah,
you never know.
Grows some fantastic cheekbones, a pirate beard. Yeah.
You'll get a generation of girls touching themselves to Edward Scissorhands. Oh shit! I've got to think of some kind of joke about Scissorhands and he's getting his fingers.
Well, I mean,
I'll get back to you.
He can't be touching them, so they're going to have to touch themselves.
There you go.
Exactly. Just something that I mean, look, I'm glad that this came out. I never really believe. I remember we talked about the Amber Heard story, and the thing is that the photos of her domestic abuse that she used as evidence was like this little like bruise on her face, which, I mean, we don't even know if that's a real bruise or makeup. I think there have been people who have speculated that she could have used makeup, but I would go along with, we can go along with it and say maybe that was real. But the thing is that there's a big difference between that and losing part of your fucking finger. And I'm telling you, if you look up the photo,
even willing to back up his version of events to say that, yeah, he did lose a finger. That happened. That was real. Maybe not for the reason she's saying, but it seems to have happened, and there's proof of that happening.
I want to point out about the bruise. The reason that there was speculation regarding the bruise was the timing and the way it showed up. It basically, it didn't fit the pattern of the way bruising works. And there were even people that came out and said she doesn't bruise that way. So it wasn't just like random people on the internet going, oh, that's not a real bruise. There were reasons that they looked at that and wondered if she had created a fake bruise to back her story. And I've seen that happen before. In the 7 Years in Hell case, after accusing him of assault, the liar came in to the courtroom 13 days after the alleged assault with a, quote, fresh, end quote, bruise supposedly from that assault that washed off in the restroom after the hearing was over. So it's very easy for anyone that's good with makeup to make you look like you have a bruise.
And that, by the way, is a lie with makeup. I hear a lot of people making the comparison that, they say men lie all the time, but women lie by wearing all that makeup on their face. And that's not really lying. You can't really say it's any more lying than painting a canvas with a picture is lying about the canvas, I forgot what my point was.
I found
that the bruise was a definite lie, that she's not actually bruised.
That was my point. That is definitely lying with makeup. By the way, do girls who know how to put makeup on, do most of you know how to fake a bruise? You do, don't you?
Yeah, I know how to put. I'm allergic to makeup, but I know how to put makeup on, and I know how to fake a bruise. So yeah.
Wowzers.
Yeah, not that. Of course, people would notice because all of the area there'd be a bruise, and then there'd be hives all around and under it. I'd be in real trouble.
Well, he hit you so hard that it caused hives.
Oh my god! Now I have had hives make me look like a domestic abuse victim, and I joked about it to the wrong person, and he almost attacked my husband despite being like half his size, and I had to go, well, no, I was only joking. So it could happen, but I don't think I could make it. I could be sure that it would happen on purpose. But as far as the idea of makeup being a lie, I would say when you paint your pasty wrinkled face with stuff that makes it look like you don't have any wrinkles and your skin tone is healthier, and you put on fake eyelashes and stuff like that, then yeah, you're lying. You're lying to the public. I am this healthy, I am this pretty, when in fact you're not. If you run around with lipstick on, I think most people can pretty well figure out that that's lipstick, especially if it's a dramatically different color than the natural tone of your lips. Because I see a lot of gals now wearing like purple and black and colors that nobody's lips are that color, and it's just about being bright and cheerful and colorful. I love makeup like that on gals, but not with all the like fake eyelashes and hair falls that, it's pretty, but if it's a thing you do every day and you can't leave the house when you don't have that stuff on, and you never let anybody see you look any differently than that, then it is basically lying to the public. Yep, I'm this healthy, I'm this attractive, I have eyes this wide and eyelashes this long, and so on.
I lie to the public about how confident I am. I think a
Eh,
lot of people do that.
I
I
think,
just
yeah,
see this as a visual form of that, I guess.
99% of the planet does that, and the other 1% are overconfident anyway.
Yeah.
You gotta fake it till you make it.
But I mean, there's an entire industry, actually several, around women faking the way they like. There's fake boobs that you can wear in your bra, a whole variety of fake boobs, ranging from various materials to actually being part of the bra. There's fake butts that you can wear. There's stuff to make your fat belly not look so fat. There's stuff to make your butt look like it hasn't fallen down as you get older, and your boobs make look like they were fastened to the bottom of your chin. Just like there's all of the stuff to make your hair look longer than it is, or fuller than it is, or whatever. Make your lips look bigger. There's stuff to puff up your lips artificially, by irritating them, and then you put the makeup on over that. And more and more of that stuff is coming out. There's just an entire spectrum of businesses around falsifying women's physical appearance, and you take all of that stuff off when you go to bed at night, and then your husband wakes up in the morning next to a complete stranger until you put it all back on.
So I did find a kind of censored version. Looks like it's like the Japanese porn version of the missing finger, or the injury. I thought I wanted to show you guys because I wanted to contrast it against the.
Yeah, that don't look pleasant.
No, it's like I've seen the uncut, no pun intended, version of this, and yeah, it's gnarly as fuck. So, and this is the bruise that got everyone so worked up that they were talking about on social media for so long. And this is what Johnny Depp was dealing with, and it wasn't like a factor or something that came out until, well, very recently, right?
The thing that seems weird to me, just like, look at his fingernails, and his knuckles. It looks like that's the hand of, looks like a man that's been working on a car engine for like an hour.
Yeah. He looks pretty filthy. I mean, he's always been kind of a dirty looking dude, though. But it's also possible that maybe he was, like, I don't know, preparing for a role, or he just got into a fight with his wife, and this is what happened. I don't know. I was
going to say the dark tone is probably coagulated blood mixed in with dirt or whatever.
Maybe.
Yeah,
it's
possible.
Probably definitely a level of that.
Yeah, because it looks like they cleaned it up. Because I mean, considering it was probably spurting blood. Considering what it looked, it was pretty bad. It's like I lost a piece of my finger when I was 7 years old. I put my hand in a machine because I was stupid, and I lost like the top of my index finger on my right hand. About the same kind of injury that Depp had, except I guess his was crushed this way, which I'm assuming hurts a lot more. I don't know. And I was bleeding a lot, so it's possible that that's what this is. But
yeah, from personal experience, I can say crushing the bones in the tip, at least of your thumb, hurts pretty fucking bad.
Yeah.
Because I did that. Well, I didn't exactly do that. The wind did it. I got my thumb caught just in the edge of the car door as it slammed shut and latched and locked.
Oh,
And my keys were in my right hand pocket, and it was my right thumb. So I'm standing there. There's a long story that goes with this, but the short version is a lot of cussing was had while I unlocked the car as traffic was driving by me on my left, like 2 feet away from me at 70 miles an hour, including semis. And the pain of that was actually more prominent in my mind than the danger on my left. What he went through with that's excruciating, and it's weird because it's on an extremity, and so people would think, well, it's just your finger, you're being a wimp. But your fingers are designed to be very sensitive to your surroundings. They're a way that you take in information about your surroundings. It's not obviously the same as your eyes or your ears or your nose, but it's touch. And that touch, those nerves, you have a lot of nerves in your fingertips. And it would be infinitely more painful to have an injury to your fingertips than it would to have a bruise on your face like that.
All right. So I guess that's it. We're gonna go ahead and does anyone else have any other thoughts on this story, the Johnny Depp story, or any of the other ones that we've discussed? No? Okay. So I'll read the last super chats and then we'll just wrap it up. So we got one from Mr. Roboto for $2. He writes, allergic to makeup, is there a medical name for it?
I've never heard one, but
Yeah.
I imagine
I think
if there's
probably
a medical name for the allergy I have to the ingredients in the makeup, that would be the allergy or the medical name for it, because that's the cause, is that some of the ingredients I'm sensitive to.
yeah,
They used to use like lead and other heavy metals in makeup. I think I'm allergic to that shit.
Yeah. Yeah, normally it depends on what's in it, and you have to like look at each piece of makeup individually, like eyeliner, foundation, lipstick, whatever, to see, because most likely people could be allergic to some or a few, but not all. So, you have to like kind of break it down and be more specific. Okay.
Yeah, I know as anything, especially that says botanicals on it, which I guess means it comes from flowers. You probably could just about kill me with it.
Yeah. So with that said, we're going to go on into the after show and we're going to talk about this article from Vice News. Meet the YouTube star who's de-radicalizing young right-wing men like men's rights activists. This is the sanest person on the internet, ContraPoints. So we'll see what they have to say. Now, just because Vice writes like a big fat article talking about ContraPoints doesn't mean that she's like, part of this sort of corporate new SJW content on YouTube. So just like put down that conspiracy theory and don't make assumptions. Maybe you want to watch more of that content.
Pick up the other one about the Alternative Influence Network. That's the conspiracy theory that's right.
Yeah, that's the one. That's right.
I think we had one more super chat sneak in there if you want.
Yeah, we just got one. Albert Nada again for $5 Canadian says 18-year-old Amber Heard was in North Country. Can't say for sure if she took part in the F on M or female on male sexual harassment. Draw your own conclusions.
This is Heard say, sir.
That's what I heard. I don't know if you heard that. Okay, so anyway, we're going to go ahead and go to the after show. If you guys want to be a part of that, again, become a Badger. Go ahead and start a monthly subscription over at feedthebadger.com. It'll get you access to our Discord. You'll be able to participate in the after shows. You can watch them. You can watch videos before they go live. Like I know Alison just put up another Deprogramming Women today, and the people in the Discord got to watch the video first. So this lets you get sort of early access to stuff and access to exclusive after show content like this one. So to do that, go to feedthebadger.com and become a Badger. So I want to thank Mike, and Hannah for coming on the HBR News Show. And I especially want to thank you guys for coming and watching our show. And something I don't do enough, I want to thank Stapler, my wife, and I want to thank Andrew and Mike J for helping us with the write-ups and preparing the stories. This is how we're able to make the show flow about as well as we can expect. So if you guys like the show, give them also a thanks. I know that Andrew, Mike J, and Lindsay don't get enough credit from me, and I'm going to try to show my appreciation more often. So thanks, guys, for coming on the HBR News Show. Leave us a comment, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell for notifications. We'll talk to you guys next time. Have a great evening, everybody. We'll see you in the after show.